Hey there, Pete Erickson here with Modev. Very excited to be a part of this year's All-Day DevOps Conference. And as a lead up to the conference, we're having conversations with several of our speakers and partners that are a part of the event. And I'm excited to bring up our next guest. His name is Dodi Imbuido, and he is the Chief Technology Officer at iVedha. Dodi, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, Pete.
Hey, glad to know you're hydrated. That's
Yes.
an important part of all of our journeys. In fact, I don't have my big water bottle sitting here. I was going to cheers you. I think I left it upstairs. Well, Dodi, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to iVedha for being a community partner at this year's All Day DevOps Conference. I want to talk a little bit first off as we get started here about you and your involvement with iVedha. It's an interesting company because it's a bit of a conglomerate. Tell us a little bit about the organization and how it's structured.
Sure. So iVedha started around 2001. And at that point, it was dealing a lot more on the staff augmentation, system integration. I think it was doing with SAP, Oracle, all the technologies that was important at that time frame. I joined around 2011. So I joined as one of the cloud engineer guys back
Okay.
in 2011 when there's really no public clouds in Canada. And the main notion for that is basically, you know what, can we actually start doing cloud hosting in Canada when you're talking about residency, all that rule sets. So that's where I started joining the company. From then, the 2011, we started looking at building different companies or even acquiring some. Part of that journey that we had, actually, ITRA is here. I got my shirt on.
Nice.
Uh, and that company is basically a product-based company. And the main goal for that is to create tool sets and platforms that we find that's gap in the market to basically either help us gain more revenue, but at the same time help us focus on making sure that our customers are treated fairly, the services that we offer remain strong and reliable and resilient. And then we also have a group of companies. Each of them have their own distinct type of responsibility or focus in the different industries. But primarily for the ITRA side, that's where we really started looking at the DevOps part, which we're going to be talking about in the next coming minutes.
Yeah, love to know that. I think that DevOps has. I think it's a journey that really maybe started 10 years ago, and for a lot of folks much earlier than that. But as a real practice area, and it sounds like ITRA is your answer, is iVedha's answer to the DevOps journey. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, I think two of our objectives really is that in order for us to help other customers, that means we need to live that journey. And
Right.
we know the DevOps, it's not a set of tools, right? It's a set of principles.
Right.
It's a lot more in the cultural shift. Geez, my
Yep.
things right here. And it's a lot more on that movement. So when you started building your own products, that's when you started realize some of these complexities and challenges as it involves
Right.
the people, the current
Right.
process that you have, and then the ever-growing set of tools. That tool fatigue, the open source that came in, which is basically we're part of the community advocate. You got to start looking at how do you utilize the right set of tools for the right job. Right? So that's basically what ITRA. That's why we started doing ITRA. The secondary objective of that is to basically utilize again what we've developed to better enhance our services for our customers.
What you know, I'd love your perspective on where you think we are in terms of like the DevOps journey. That it's been around now, people understand the basic principles of sure IT and development and security needing to work together for this kind of virtuous cycle. But where do you think we are from a maturity standpoint as an industry and the DevOps industry on this journey?
That's a great topic. I think when having the experience on dealing with different companies, I think it depends on the maturity level and the environment they're on.
Right.
There's some companies that we've dealt with that they've incorporated security, DevSecOps, if you want to call it,
Sure.
from the very beginning. And there's some that's still in that environment where it's pretty much traditional and siloed. So it's a hit and miss. I think it's the reason why what's great about the principles is that you have a way to continuously improve it.
Right.
So as long as you identify those, I think it's and you're going path forward. I think the biggest barriers right now, as we're seeing it, is this with the technology shift. There's a lot of new things out there. Kubernetes came in, and it's not fairly new, but looking at the landscape, especially in the service industry side of things, the service provider industry, we're seeing a lot of challenges on getting people, right?
Right.
A lot of the big boys are actually have deep enough pockets to, hey, you know what, you can come in and join our movement. And you get some of the other ones that wanted to join a similar, smaller type of company where much more of their gain more experience and at the same time have that specific movement that you're trying to do, purpose in this case. So to answer in general, it's basically, again, it could be a hit and miss depending on the type of organization and culture that you have. And
Yeah, no, I think so. You're right. I mean, I think, obviously some organizations are well ahead of others. I think it's interesting to see this area. In a previous interview we were doing today, we were talking about how to get started in this space. And it's an interesting DevOps as a career now is interesting for people that are coming into the industry to think about, to become a specialist in DevOps. So you may not be a software engineer, or maybe you're training to be a software engineer, but it's certainly something that somewhere where somebody could get started, or maybe they really become a process, kind of a process engineer more than a code engineer.
that's right. Yeah, and
What,
there's different.
yeah,
Sorry, go
and
ahead.
I'd love to know, with regards to the industries that you all support, are there some industries where where your core expertise lies?
Well, I think when we look at what the main objectives are that we're trying to push, it really comes down to how do you have a reliable service or system, but at the same time, um, don't hinder innovation. So it's a fine balance between, hey, how do we pump up new features that our customers are providing feedback on, versus to say, how can we make that reliable? You cannot really. I think it's really hard to do 100% SLA. It depends on multiple different factors, but then you still strive for that. And I think that's where I think the coin now is being site reliability engineering. It's not a new concept by any means. I know Google and the other companies started to put that together, but it really emphasizes on the main fundamentals of what DevOps actually bring. Reduce organizational silos, take failure as a learning type, blameless postmortems, basically try to do a balancing between the continuous innovation versus reliability, so your release management. At the same time, try to see if you can automate some of these processes, if not all. Uh, but last but not the least is to be able to measure everything, because a lot of these insights and data that you bring forward will also help you in determining what type of information that you have that's factual or based on the data given, and how could you actually apply that to provide more business value to your customers.
I think it's excellent. That's an excellent summary, and I love you brought up site reliability engineering. I think what's fascinating about that is, IT. Some of the IT admin operations were handed over to developers, and they said, "Wait, we got to automate this," and that's it really started naturally, but again, is another huge practice area and part of the sort of the DevOps culture. Tell One question I had is with regards to iVedha is, you're a Canadian-based company. Do you service companies outside of Canada, or are you pretty much Canadian-based?
Yeah, so we do have some projects outside of Canada. We get some projects in the US and also some in Asia. It depends. I know we haven't done a lot of marketing ourselves. We haven't done that. I think we could improve on that. But
Hey,
most
you're
of
too
the
busy engineering. Who's got time for marketing when you're actually doing the work?
and most of the time it's really by a relationship. So
Yeah,
it's a recommendation to say, you know what, try out these guys. They might not be
yeah.
the big companies of the world, but hey, they might be able to bring value.
Well, I think word of mouth marketing is some of the most valuable marketing there is, certainly, and we hope that that word of mouth spreads here through All Day DevOps and the DevOps community. And having you all as community supporters this year is so important to us. This is an important community. It's a valuable community. It's a global community, and we're just thrilled to learn about iVedha and to have you come on and chat with me today, Dodi. And we really appreciate it. And if folks want to find out more information about you, where should they go?
So you can visit our website, iVedha.com. We're also launching or continuing our meetup.com group. We have a Stacks and Dockers Labs Toronto. I
Oh,
think
nice.
this is our first launch, segmenting or segue to this DevOps days for ADDO, All Day DevOps. We're going to continue doing that to serve the community. So, and we're also planning on open sourcing some of our tools. So
Mm.
we're gonna announce that as well during those meetups.
Oh, that's exciting. Very good. Good on you for open sourcing. Excellent. And you can certainly find out more about them if you click the link on the All Day DevOps website, uh, and where we've got information on our community supporters and sponsors. So, Dodi, thanks again for joining us, and thanks again for being a part of All Day DevOps 2021. And I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Pete. Likewise.